The mop clattered against the polished airport floor as Imani Carter's trembling hands tried to clean up the spilled coffee for the third time. Her knees ached from scrubbing, her uniform drenched with the expensive beverage that the businessman had accidentally knocked over. "Are you stupid?" The man's voice cut through the busy terminal. "I said I wanted it cleaned, not spread around." Laughter erupted from his colleagues, first-class passengers, expensive suits, people who saw her as invisible until they needed someone to mock. "I'm sorry, sir. I'm doing my best." "Your best?" A woman in designer heels laughed. "Maybe try getting a real job instead of crawling on floors like an animal." Imani bit her lip, tasting blood. She couldn't afford to lose this job. Not with the debt collectors calling, not with the threats getting worse every day. She bent lower, scrubbing harder, swallowing her dignity with each stroke. That's when the entire terminal fell silent. She felt him before she saw him, a presence so powerful that even the mockery died in throats. Imani looked up slowly, her breath catching. The man stood like a dark angel in a three-piece black suit that probably cost more than her yearly salary. Tall, commanding, with sharp features that could have been carved from marble. A tattoo peeked from his collar, dark against his throat. His eyes, cold, deadly and currently fixed on her tormentors, promised violence. "Repeat what you just said." His voice was quiet. Too quiet. The kind of quiet that preceded storms. The businessman paled. I didn't mean—" "You called her an animal." Each word was precise, controlled, lethal. "Apologize now." "Who the hell do you think—" 3 men in black suits materialized from nowhere, surrounding the group. The message was clear: comply or face consequences. The businessman's face went white. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." But Adrian Russo wasn't looking at him anymore. His gaze had shifted to Imani, still kneeling on the floor, and something in those dark eyes softened, just for a moment. He extended his hand to her. "Get up," he said, his voice gentler now. "You don't kneel for anyone." Imani stared at his outstretched hand, her heart hammering. She had no idea who this man was, but she knew, with bone-deep certainty, that taking his hand would change everything. If you want to discover how Imani's life transformed after that moment, and what Adrian whispered to her that would bind their fates together, subscribe to the channel and leave a comment sharing where you're watching from. Every view helps bring more stories like this one to life. Now, let's go back to where it all began. 3 days earlier, Imani had stood in her cramped studio apartment, staring at the red envelope in her shaking hands. Final notice: $47,000 owed. Payment due in 7 days, or face legal action. Her mother's medical bills. The experimental treatment that had bought them 6 more precious months together before cancer won. 6 months that cost everything Imani had and everything she didn't. She worked 3 jobs. Airport cleaning from 4 a.m. to noon, waitressing from 2 p.m. to 8 p.m., night shifts at a warehouse from 10 p.m. to 3 a.m., 4 hours of sleep if she was lucky. Instant noodles for dinner. Her phone disconnected because she chose groceries over the bill. And still it wasn't enough. The loan sharks, because banks wouldn't touch someone like her, were getting impatient. Their last message had been clear: pay up or we'll take it another way. She didn't want to think about what that meant. Now, returning to that day at the airport, Imani felt the stranger's hand still extended toward her. She took it, feeling calluses against his palm. This wasn't a man who'd lived an easy life despite the expensive suit. He pulled her up effortlessly, and she found herself looking into eyes that seemed to see everything, including the exhaustion she tried so hard to hide. "Thank you," she whispered, acutely aware of the crowd watching. "You didn't have to." "Yes, I did." He released her hand, but didn't step back. "You're hurt." Only then did she notice the coffee burns on her arms, the skin already blistering. She'd been so focused on cleaning, on not losing this job, that she hadn't even felt it. "It's nothing, I should get back to, you're taking a break." It wasn't a suggestion. He turned to one of his men. "Marco, handle this." Before Imani could protest, the suited man was speaking with her supervisor, a conversation that involved a thick envelope of cash. Her supervisor's eyes went wide, and he nodded enthusiastically. "What did you—" Imani started. "Bought you the day off, paid." Adrian's hand settled on the small of her back, guiding her away from the scene. "There's a medical station in Terminal C." "I can't afford—" "I can." They walked in silence through the gleaming airport, past travelers who gave them, or rather gave Adrian, a wide berth. People recognized power when they saw it, even if they didn't know his name. The medical station was empty. Adrian dismissed the attendant with a look and pulled out the first aid kit himself. "Sit," he commanded, pointing to the examination table. Imani hesitated. Everything about this situation screamed danger. Strange men didn't help women like her without expecting something in return. But his eyes, despite their intensity, held something that made her trust him. She sat. He worked in silence, cleaning her burns with surprising gentleness. His hands were steady, confident, like he'd done this before. "What's your name?" he asked without looking up. Imani Carter." Imani. He tested the name, and she felt something flutter in her chest. "I'm Adrian." "Adrian." She paused, sensing there was more. "Should I know who you are?" The corner of his mouth twitched, not quite a smile, but close. "Most people do, you really don't?" She shook her head. "Good." He finished bandaging her arms, his touch lingering just a moment too long. "It's refreshing." "Why did you help me?" The question burst out before she could stop it. "People like you don't usually notice people like me." His jaw tightened. "People like me? Rich, powerful." She gestured at his suit, his bearing, the men waiting outside. "Important. And people like you?" His eyes locked onto hers. "Hard-working women who sacrifice everything for others, who keep their dignity even when the world tries to strip it away." He leaned closer. "I notice. Imani, I always notice." Her breath caught. There was something in his voice, pain, understanding, recognition. "You work too much," he continued, pulling back. "3 jobs?" She stiffened. "How did you—" "Your supervisor talks too much." Adrian's expression darkened. 47,000 in debt, medical bills for your mother, loan sharks threatening you. Terror flooded through her. "Did they send you?" "No." His voice turned to ice. "But I know who did give you that loan, and when I find out they've been threatening you—" "Please," Imani interrupted, grabbing his arm. "Don't. They'll make it worse. I just need time to pay them back." "Time?" He looked at her like she'd lost her mind. "Imani, they don't want time. They want you scared, compliant. I can handle it." "You shouldn't have to." The words hung between them, heavy with meaning she didn't fully understand. Adrian pulled out his phone, typed something quickly, then looked back at her. "The debt's gone." "What?" "I paid it. All of it. You're free." Imani's world tilted. "You can't just—" "I can. I did." He stood, buttoning his jacket. "Consider it done." "No." She jumped off the table, ignoring the sting in her arms. "No, I don't accept charity. I'll pay you back every cent." Something flickered in his eyes. Respect, maybe even admiration. "You're serious?" "Dead serious." He studied her for a long moment, then nodded slowly. "All right, you'll pay me back." Relief flooded through her. "Thank you. I'll work extra shifts. By working for me." Her relief vanished. "What?" "I need someone I can trust, someone who won't sell information to my enemies." His gaze intensified. "Someone with integrity." "What kind of work?" "Legitimate work," he assured her. "My mother needs a personal assistant, someone to help her with daily tasks, accompany her to appointments. He paused, vulnerability flashing across his features. "She's not well, and I need someone who understands what it means to care for a sick parent." Imani's resistance wavered. She understood that pain all too well. "Live-in position," Adrian continued. "Room, board, and salary that would cover your debt in a year. 2 years if you insist on being conservative." "Live-in, I can't just—" "Imani." He stepped closer, and she could smell his cologne, something expensive and intoxicating. Those loan sharks, they don't care that I paid your debt. They'll come after you anyway, trying to collect twice. You need protection." Fear coiled in her stomach. Protection? The estate is secure, gated, guards. You'll be safe there. His hand came up, almost touching her face before dropping. "Let me help you. Please." That last word, please, from a man who clearly commanded rather than asked, made her decision. "Okay," she whispered. "I'll do it." Adrian's smile was small but genuine. "Good. My driver will pick you up tonight. Pack everything you need." As he turned to leave, Imani called out, "Adrian, who are you, really?" He looked back, and for a moment she saw the truth in his eyes. Danger, power, violence controlled by an iron will. "Someone who keeps his people safe," he said simply. "And Imani, as of today, you're one of my people." He walked away, leaving her with questions, fear, and a strange flutter of hope she hadn't felt in years. She had no idea she'd just agreed to live with one of the most dangerous men in America, or that Adrian Russo, head of the Italian-American Cosa Nostra, had just claimed her as his, in every way that mattered. The black SUV that picked up Imani that evening was nothing like she'd expected. The interior was leather and luxury, but it was the armed driver and the security detail following them that made her realize exactly what kind of world she was entering. The Russo estate sat on 40 acres outside the city, hidden behind gates that looked like they could withstand a military assault. As they drove up the winding driveway, Imani pressed her face to the window, taking in gardens that belonged in magazines, fountains that belonged in Italian villas, and a mansion that belonged in movies. "Madonna mia," she breathed without thinking. The driver glanced at her in the rearview mirror, surprise evident. "You speak Italian?" Imani blushed. "My mother was obsessed with Italian culture. She taught me some phrases before." She trailed off, the grief still fresh. "Signor Russo will like that, the driver said with a knowing smile. Adrian was waiting at the entrance, and Imani's breath caught. He'd changed from his suit into dark slacks and a white shirt with sleeves rolled up, revealing forearms corded with muscle and decorated with ink. Somehow he looked even more dangerous this way, less businessman, more predator. "You came," he said, as if he doubted she would. "I gave my word." Imani stepped out of the SUV, clutching her single worn suitcase. His eyes dropped to the bag, jaw tightening. "Is that everything? Everything that matters?" Something in his expression softened. He took her suitcase, not letting one of the staff do it, and gestured for her to follow. The interior was breathtaking, marble floors, crystal chandeliers, artwork that probably cost more than her entire neighborhood. But Adrian moved through it without a glance, leading her up a sweeping staircase. "Your room," he said, opening a door to reveal a space 3 times the size of her old apartment. King-sized bed with silk sheets, attached bathroom with a tub that could fit 4 people, a balcony overlooking the gardens. This is too much," Imani whispered. "It's what you deserve." Adrian set her suitcase down. "My mother's room is across the hall. She retires early and wakes around 8. Breakfast is served at 9, but she prefers someone to talk with while she eats. You'll help with her medications, her exercises, and keep her company." "What's wrong with her?" Imani asked gently. "If you don't mind me asking." Adrian's jaw worked, emotion flickering across his face before being locked away. "Heart condition. Weak from years of stress. The doctors say she needs peace, no excitement, but she gets lonely easily." Imani heard what he didn't say. "I'm the reason she's sick. My life did this to her." "I'll take good care of her," Imani promised. "I know how precious that time is." His eyes met hers, and for a moment the dangerous Mafia boss disappeared, replaced by a son who was terrified of losing his mother. "Thank you," he said quietly. A knock interrupted them. Marco, the man from the airport, stood at the door. "Boss, we have a situation." Adrian's entire demeanor shifted, hardening, sharpening. "I'll be right there." He turned back to Imani. "Get settled. If you need anything, press the button by the bed. Someone will come." He was gone before she could respond, leaving her alone in a bedroom bigger than any place she'd ever lived. Imani didn't sleep that night. She lay in the impossibly soft bed, listening to the sounds of a house that never truly rested. Voices in Italian drifting up from below, cars arriving and departing. Once she heard Adrian's voice, cold, commanding, terrifying, issuing orders she couldn't fully understand. At 3 a.m. she gave up on sleep and explored her room more carefully. The closet was stocked with clothes in her exact size, designer labels she'd only seen in store windows. The bathroom had toiletries she couldn't pronounce. On the nightstand sat a smartphone, brand new, with a single number programmed in. Adrian. She picked it up, thumb hovering over the call button. What was she doing here? Living in a mansion with a man she didn't know, surrounded by danger she couldn't understand. A soft knock made her jump. She opened the door to find an elderly woman in a silk robe, fragile as spun glass but with sharp, intelligent eyes. "You must be Imani," the woman said in accented English. "I'm Lucia, Adrian's mother. Mrs. Russo, it's so late. You should be resting." "Couldn't sleep," Lucia smiled warmly. "Heard you moving around. New places are always hard the first night." She gestured to the sitting area. "Walk with me?" They sat on the balcony, wrapped in blankets, watching the gardens under moonlight. Lucia spoke of her youth in Sicily, of immigrating to America, of building a life in a world that hadn't always been kind. "Adrian told me about your mother," Lucia said eventually. "Cancer?" Imani nodded, throat tight. "She fought for 2 years. The treatments worked for a while, but it was never enough time." Lucia's hand found hers. "It never is, Cara. I'm sorry for your loss." They sat in companionable silence until Lucia asked, "What did my son tell you about our family? That you need a personal assistant, that he wants to make sure you're cared for. And you believe that's all this is?" Imani turned to face her. "No, I know there's more. I just don't know what yet." Lucia studied her carefully, then smiled, a smile that reminded Imani eerily of Adrian's rare ones. "My son is many things, child. Dangerous, yes. Powerful, absolutely. But at his core, he's a protector. He sees people in need and he can't look away." Her grip tightened slightly. "You need protection. He needs someone to trust. It's a good arrangement. I don't understand why he's being so kind to me." "Don't you?" Lucia's eyes twinkled. "I saw how he looked at you when you arrived. My son has met many women, Imani. Beautiful women, clever women, sophisticated women. But the way he looked at you," she patted Imani's hand, "like he'd finally found something precious in a world full of cheap imitations." Heat flooded Imani's cheeks. "I'm sure you're mistaken." "Mothers are never mistaken about these things." Lucia stood carefully. "Get some sleep, Cara. Tomorrow you start your real work, not just caring for me, but teaching my stubborn son that some things are worth more than power and control." She was gone before Imani could protest. The next morning, Imani woke to sunlight streaming through gauzy curtains. She showered in the marble bathroom, dressed in one of the simple but expensive outfits from the closet, and made her way across the hall. Lucia was already awake, sitting by her window. Imani helped her with morning medications, noting each one carefully, asking about side effects and timing. They talked while Imani helped with gentle exercises recommended by doctors, range of motion movements, careful stretches. "You're good at this," Lucia observed. "Natural." "I did it for my mom every day for 2 years." The hardest training is always lived, never taught. They had breakfast in Lucia's sitting room, fresh fruit, pastries, espresso that tasted like heaven. Imani found herself relaxing, laughing at Lucia's stories about young Adrian getting into trouble. "He was 7 when he decided to protect the neighborhood kids from bullies," Lucia recalled. "Came home with a black eye and split lip, but he'd made sure 3 smaller children got home safe. That's who he is, the protector, even when it costs him." A knock interrupted. Adrian stood in the doorway, now back in a sharp navy suit, looking every inch the powerful boss. His eyes went to Imani first, scanning her as if checking for injuries, before moving to his mother. "Mama, how are you feeling?" "Better now that I have proper company." Lucia beamed. "Imani is wonderful." Adrian's gaze returned to Imani, something warm flickering in those cold eyes. "Good, I'm glad." To Imani he added, "I need to speak with you, privately." Lucia waved them off. "Go, go, I'll nap." Imani followed Adrian to his study, a room of dark wood, leather furniture and walls lined with books. But it was the painting behind his desk that caught her attention, a black Madonna, rendered in stunning detail. "My father's mother was black," Adrian said quietly, noticing her stare. "From Louisiana. When she married into the family there was resistance. My grandfather didn't care. He loved her until the day she died." He touched the frame gently. "I never forget where I come from." Imani's heart stuttered. This man, this dangerous, powerful man, was honoring his grandmother with art in the center of his domain. "Why did you really bring me here?" she asked, finding courage. "Your mother is lovely, but she has staff, she has nurses. You didn't need to pay off my debt for someone to keep her company." Adrian turned to face her fully, leaning against his desk. "You're right. I didn't." He crossed his arms. "The men who gave you that loan, they work for the Volkov family, Russian mob. They've been targeting vulnerable people in the communities, collecting debts they'll never let anyone fully repay." Ice flooded Imani's veins. "What?" "You were on a list," Adrian continued, voice going hard. "Young, attractive, desperate. They were planning to offer you an alternative payment plan, one that would have destroyed you." Horror clawed at her throat. "How do you know?" "Because I've been working to bring them down for months." His hands clenched into fists. "But I needed evidence, names, locations. When I saw you at the airport, being treated like you were nothing." Fury blazed in his eyes. "I couldn't walk away. And when I found out you were one of their targets, I knew I had to act fast." "So I'm what, bait?" "No." He crossed to her in 2 strides, grabbing her shoulders. "You're protected. They think the debt is paid, but they'll still watch you. And when they make their move, my men will be there. You'll never be in real danger, Imani, I swear it." She should be angry, should feel used, but all she felt was the heat of his hands, the intensity in his eyes, the absolute conviction in his promise. "Why do you care so much?" Her voice came out a whisper. "You don't know me. I know enough." His thumb brushed her cheek, a touch so gentle it made her shiver. "I know you're brave. I know you're loyal. I know you don't give up even when the world is crushing you." His voice dropped lower. "And I know that from the moment I saw you on that floor, refusing to cry, refusing to beg, I couldn't stop thinking about you." Imani's breath caught. "Adrian!" His phone buzzed sharply. He pulled back, jaw tightening as he read the message. "They made contact. They know you're here." "What does that mean?" "It means the game just started." He looked at her, conflict warring in his expression. "You can still leave. I'll keep you safe either way. But if you stay, things might get dangerous." Imani thought of the airport, of the mockery and humiliation, of the threats she'd been receiving for months, of sleeping with one eye open, terrified of what tomorrow would bring. "I'm staying," she said firmly. "If you're taking them down, I want to help. They hurt people like me. They need to be stopped." Adrian's smile was slow and devastating. "Dangerous and brave. You're going to be the death of me, Imani Carter." But his eyes promised something else entirely, that she might just be his salvation instead. 2 weeks passed in a strange routine, mornings with Lucia, afternoons in the garden or library, evenings with carefully orchestrated outings where Adrian's team could monitor who was watching Imani. The Volkovs had, as predicted, sent people to surveil her. "They're waiting for an opportunity," Adrian explained one evening as they walked through the estate gardens. It had become their habit, these sunset walks where he debriefed her, and she pretended her heart didn't race every time he was near. "What kind of opportunity?" "To grab you when I'm not around. Make it look random." His jaw clenched. "It won't happen. Marco stays with you whenever you leave the estate. My men are everywhere." "Must be expensive, all this protection for someone like me." Adrian stopped walking, turning to face her. "Someone like you? You know what I mean." "No, I don't." He stepped closer. "Tell me exactly what you mean by someone like you." Imani lifted her chin. A broke cleaning lady with nothing to offer. You think that's how I see you? His voice went dangerously soft. Let me be clear, Imani. I've spent my entire life surrounded by people who would smile while stabbing me in the back. People who measure worth in dollars and power. You? He reached out, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. You measure worth in loyalty, in sacrifice, in love. You're worth more than every person in my organization combined. Her heart hammered against her ribs. Adrian, I know I shouldn't feel this way. His hand cupped her face. I know you deserve better than a man like me. But Christo, Imani, I can't stop. Every morning I wake up, and the first thing I think about is whether you slept well. Every evening I count down the hours until I can see you again. You've gotten into my blood. This is insane, she whispered, even as she leaned into his touch. We barely know each other. I know you stayed up all night reading to my mother when she couldn't sleep. I know you cry in the shower so no one hears. I know you still send half your salary to your old church to help other families with medical debt. His thumb brushed her lower lip. I know your favorite color is midnight blue, that you hum when you're concentrating, that you've never been to a fancy restaurant because you gave every cent to your mother's care. How do you know all that? Because I pay attention. Because you matter. Imani's defenses crumbled. You scare me. I know. Not because of who you are. Because of how you make me feel. Adrian's eyes darkened. And how do I make you feel? Like I'm falling off a cliff with no idea if you'll catch me. I'll catch you. The promise was fierce. Every single time, Imani. I swear it. He leaned in slowly, giving her time to pull away. She didn't. His lips met hers softly at first, testing, questioning. When she responded, pressing closer, the kiss deepened into something consuming. They broke apart, breathing hard. Adrian rested his forehead against hers. Tell me to stop. I can't. Tell me this is a bad idea. It definitely is. Tell me you don't feel this too. I can't, she repeated, voice breaking. Because I do. God help me, Adrian. I feel it too. His phone shattered the moment, harsh and insistent. He pulled it out, expression going cold as ice as he read the screen. What is it? They're making their move. Tonight. He was already typing rapidly. Marco's picking Lucia up from her sister's house. They planned an ambush on the route. Terror spiked through her. They're going after your mother. They know she's my weakness. Adrian's smile was razor-sharp. What they don't know is we've been expecting this. Half my family's there already, waiting. They're walking into a trap. Will she be safe? Lucia's not actually at her sister's. He pocketed the phone. She's here, upstairs, with a full security detail. But the Volkovs think they're about to kidnap her. Instead, they're about to find themselves surrounded by the entire Russo family. You used her as bait? No. I used the idea of her as bait. She's safe. Always has been. He grabbed Imani's hands. This is it. After tonight, they're finished. You'll be free. Something in his tone made her stomach drop. Free? To go. Live your life. I'll make sure you have enough money to start over anywhere you want. No debt. No danger. No... He stopped himself. No. You? Adrian's expression cracked. I'm not good for you, Imani. You deserve someone who can give you a normal life. Marriage, kids, Sunday dinners without wondering if your husband will come home alive. That's not your choice to make. You don't understand what you'd be signing up for. Then tell me. She gripped his jacket. Stop protecting me from the truth. Stop deciding what I can handle. Tell me everything. So he did. Standing in the garden as sunset bled into darkness, Adrian Russo told her everything. About his father being killed when he was 15. About taking over the family business at 18. About the violence, the impossible choices, the blood on his hands that no amount of soap would ever clean. I've done terrible things, he finished, voice rough. Things I can never take back. Things that would make you run if you truly understood. Imani took a shaky breath. My turn. She squared her shoulders. When my mom was dying, there was a week where I didn't eat at all, so I could afford her medications. I stole food from restaurant dumpsters. I lied to bill collectors. I told my mother every day that we'd beat the cancer even when I knew we wouldn't. I let her die believing we'd have more time together, because the truth would have destroyed her last days. Adrian stared at her. We've all done what we had to do to protect the people we love, Imani continued. You think you're the only one with blood on your hands. I watched my mother waste away because I couldn't afford better treatment. I made choices every day about which bills to ignore, which meals to skip. Maybe I'm not a mob boss, but I understand sacrifice. I understand doing whatever it takes. It's not the same. You're right, it's not. Your choices were about protecting hundreds of people. Mine were about protecting one. If anything, you carry more honor than I do. Imani, I'm not running. She stepped into his space. I'm not going anywhere. Because I see you, Adrian. Not the boss, not the killer, not the dangerous man everyone fears. I see the son who worships his mother, the man who paid off a stranger's debt because he couldn't stand injustice, the person who builds rooms specifically for his grandmother's art. That's who you are. Everything else is just survival. Adrian's control shattered. He pulled her against him, kissing her with desperate need. You're going to destroy me, he muttered against her lips. Completely ruin me. Good, she whispered back. Ruin me too. They stood wrapped together as darkness fell completely, neither willing to let go, until Marco's voice crackled through Adrian's earpiece. Boss, they took the bait. We're moving in. Adrian pulled back reluctantly. I have to go. Finish this. Be careful. Always. He kissed her forehead. Imani, when I get back, we're having a serious conversation about your future here. As your mother's assistant. His smile was pure sin, as mine, in every way that matters. He was gone before she could respond, leaving her trembling in the garden, knowing everything had just changed forever. The mansion was silent. Too silent. Imani paced in her room, unable to sit still, checking her phone every few minutes even though Adrian had warned her he couldn't call during the operation. At midnight, Lucia knocked softly. Can't sleep either. How do you do it? Imani asked as they settled in the sitting room. Wait, not knowing if he's safe. Practice. 30 years of practice. Lucia poured tea with steady hands, but it never gets easier. You just learn to live with the fear. Does it ever stop? The worry? No, Kara, because loving someone means giving them the power to destroy you. Lucia's eyes were knowing. And you love him already, don't you? Imani's hands shook around her teacup. Is it that obvious? Only to a mother who's prayed every day for her son to find someone worth living for, not just dying for. Lucia reached over, squeezing her hand. Adrian has spent his entire life putting everyone else first. His family, his people, his responsibilities. When he looks at you, it's the first time I've seen him put himself first. You make him want more than just survival. I don't know if I'm strong enough for this life. Strength isn't about never being afraid. It's about being terrified and choosing love anyway. Lucia smiled. You're already stronger than you know. At 3 a.m., vehicles roared up the driveway. Imani rushed to the window, heart in her throat. Black SUVs, dozens of them. Men poured out, some bloodied, all moving with purpose. And there, in the center, was Adrian. Imani ran. Down the stairs, through the halls, out the front door. She launched herself at him, and he caught her effortlessly, arms banding around her like steel. You're okay, she breathed into his neck. You're okay. Always, Passerota. The endearment, little sparrow, made her heart stutter. I told you I'd come back. She pulled back to look at him. Blood on his knuckles, a cut above his eyebrow. Exhaustion etched in every line of his face. But alive. Whole. Is it over? It's over. He cupped her face. The Volkovs are finished. Their operation is dismantled. You're safe. Relief weakened her knees. Then I'm free to go. His expression shuttered. If that's what you want. No, you idiot. She grabbed his jacket. I'm asking if you're free. Free to stop protecting me as an obligation and start. Start whatever this is between us. Adrian's smile was slow and devastating. And what is this between us? I don't know, but I want to find out. She took a breath. I love you. I know it's fast and probably insane, but I love you, Adrian Russo. Your Honor, your strength, your impossible need to save everyone. I love all of it." He kissed her like a drowning man finding air. When they finally broke apart, he was trembling. "Marry me." Imani blinked. "What? I know it's fast. I know you probably want time. But Christo, Imani, I can't imagine my life without you in it. Marry me. Be my wife. Let me spend every day proving I'm worthy of you." "Adrian, I'll wait. As long as you need, but know that from this moment on you're it for me. No one else. Ever." Tears streamed down her face. "You're serious? I've never been more serious about anything in my life." He went down on one knee right there, in front of his entire crew covered in blood and dirt. "Imani Carter, will you marry me?" She should say no, should take time to think, should be rational and careful and smart. "Yes," she whispered. "Yes, I'll marry you." Adrian surged up, kissing her as his men erupted in cheers. When they finally broke apart, he was grinning like a boy. "I don't have a ring. I'll get you one tomorrow. The biggest, most expensive." "I don't need expensive." She touched his face. "I just need you. But Adrian, we're doing this right. Dating. Getting to know each other, taking our time." "How much time?" "A year, at least." His expression fell. "A year? You can wait a year to marry me." "I can," he admitted. "I don't want to, but I can." His arms tightened around her. "But I'm courting you properly, dates, flowers, the whole thing." "I'd like that. And you're moving into my wing. Not negotiable. I need you close." "Adrian, separate rooms," he amended quickly. "Until the wedding, but close, where I know you're safe." She laughed, the sound surprising her. When had she last laughed like this? "You're impossible." "You love it. I really do." They stood together under the stars, surrounded by his family as Lucia watched from the doorway with happy tears. For the first time in years, Imani felt like she'd found home. But the peace didn't last. A week later, as Imani helped Lucia with physical therapy, a man she'd never seen before appeared at the door. He was young, nervous, and clearly terrified. "Signora," he addressed Lucia. "I need to speak with Signor Russo. It's urgent." "He's in the city," Lucia said. "What's wrong, Tommy?" The young man's eyes flickered to Imani, then away. "It's about the Volkovs. They had a backup plan." Ice flooded Imani's veins. "What kind of backup plan?" "A hit list. People close to the boss." Tommy swallowed hard. "Miss Imani is at the top." Before Imani could respond, gunshots shattered the afternoon quiet. The world exploded into chaos. Marco appeared from nowhere, grabbing Lucia. "Safe room now." But Imani was frozen, staring at the windows as they burst inward, glass raining down like deadly diamonds. "Move!" Tommy tackled her to the ground as bullets tore through the space where she'd been standing. Everything became noise and terror. Shouting in Italian, more gunshots, smoke and the smell of cordite. Tommy dragged her toward a hidden panel in the wall, while Marco fought their attackers. They tumbled into a narrow passageway. Emergency lighting flickered on, bathing everything in red. "There's a vehicle at the end," Tommy panted. "Keys in ignition. Get as far away as possible." "Where's Lucia? Where's Marco?" "Safe. They have their own route." He pressed a phone into her hands. "Call the boss. Tell him code Spartacus." "What about you?" "Making sure no one follows." He gave her a gentle push. "Go." Imani ran. Through the passage, downstairs, into an underground garage she'd never known existed. A nondescript sedan waited, keys dangling. She was in the driver's seat, engine roaring, when she realized her mistake. The phone had no signal underground. Fear paralyzed her. She could drive away, leave Adrian not knowing where she was or if she was safe. Or she could risk going back, trying to find signal, possibly getting caught. The decision took less than a second. She killed the engine and ran back toward the stairs. She'd barely made it 10 steps when strong arms grabbed her from behind. "Going somewhere, princess?" The voice was accented, cruel, and definitely not one of Adrian's men. Imani screamed and fought, but a cloth clamped over her face. Chemical sweetness filled her lungs. Her last thought before darkness took her was, "Adrian, I'm so sorry." Imani woke to pain. Her head throbbed, her wrists were bound, and she was in what looked like an abandoned warehouse. Very original, she thought distantly. Even kidnappers watched too many movies. She's awake. The voice belonged to a man with cold eyes and a thick Russian accent. Good. The boss wants her conscious for this. Terror tried to swallow her, but Imani pushed it down. Adrian would come. She knew it with bone-deep certainty. She just had to survive until he did. "Why are you doing this?" she asked, voice hoarse. "The Volkov operation is done." Dmitry Volkov survived the raid. The man circled her, lost his brothers, his business, everything, but he survived, and he wants revenge. "By taking me? By making Adrian Russo watch you die, slowly." He pulled out a knife. "We sent him the location 30 minutes ago, should be here any moment." Imani's blood ran cold. This is a trap. Very good. He pressed the knife to her cheek, not cutting, just threatening. He'll walk in thinking he's rescuing you. Instead, he'll find 20 armed men waiting. We'll kill you first, make him watch, then take him apart piece by piece. He's not that stupid. He'll bring his whole family. We're counting on it. One final bloodbath. The Russos destroyed. The Volkovs avenged. The Russian moved away, speaking into a radio in his native tongue. Imani tested her bonds, zip ties cutting into her wrists. No way to break them without tools. Think. She had to think. Her eyes scanned the warehouse. Exits blocked. Windows too high. The phone they'd taken from her sat on a nearby crate, out of reach. She had nothing. No weapons, no way out, no... Wait. The Russian had made a mistake. He'd told her the plan, which meant she could warn Adrian if she got the chance. The warehouse door exploded inward. Adrian stood in the opening like an avenging angel, suit jacket gone, shirt bloodied, gun in hand. Behind him she could see shapes moving in the darkness, his family, his army. "Let her go, Dmitry." Adrian's voice was death itself. "This is between you and me." "Oh, but she's what makes this fun." A man stepped from the shadows, older, scarred, radiating hate. "You took everything from me, Russo. Now I return the favor." He nodded to the guard, the knife pressed against Imani's throat. "No!" Adrian's mask cracked, revealing raw terror. "Please, I'll do anything, just don't hurt her." "Anything?" Dmitry smiled. "Put down your weapon." This was it. The moment where Adrian would make an impossible choice. Imani met his eyes across the warehouse, trying to tell him everything in that one look. "I love you. I'm sorry. Don't give up your life for mine." Adrian's gun clattered to the ground. "And your men. Tell them to stand down." "Adrian, no!" Imani shouted. "It's a trap. They're going to kill everyone." The knife bit into her skin. Blood trickled down her neck. "Stop!" Adrian's hands went up. "I'll do whatever you want. Just stop hurting her." Too late for that. Dmitry raised his hand, signaling his men to open fire. Glass shattered high above. Ropes descended. Men in tactical gear dropped from the ceiling like avenging angels, catching the Russians completely off guard. Adrian moved. 1 second he was standing empty-handed. The next he had a gun from God knows where and was firing with deadly precision. Chaos erupted. The Russo family poured in from every entrance. The Russians, caught between forces, didn't stand a chance. Adrian fought his way to Imani, cutting her bonds with a knife that appeared in his hand like magic. "Can you run?" "Yes." "Then run. Now." But she didn't. She couldn't leave him. Instead, she grabbed a fallen pipe and stood her ground as Adrian's body became a shield between her and danger. The fight lasted 3 minutes. It felt like hours. When it was over, the Russians were either dead or captured except for Dmitry. He stood trapped, surrounded by Russo men with nowhere to run. Adrian approached slowly, deliberately. "You made a mistake, Dmitry, a fatal one." "What mistake?" The Russian spat blood. "I had your woman. I almost won." "You assumed she was my weakness." Adrian's smile was terrifying. "You were wrong. She's my strength." He didn't kill Dmitry. He handed him to Marco with simple instructions. "Federal agents are waiting outside, gift wrapped for them, with evidence of every crime the Volkov family ever committed. Let the government have their justice." Then he turned to Imani, and his expression transformed. Are you hurt? I'm fine. Adrian, I'm so sorry. I should have... Don't. He pulled her into his arms. Don't apologize for being brave, for trying to warn me. Krista, when I got that call, when they said they had you. His voice broke. I've never been so scared in my life. You came for me. Always, every time. Until the day I die, Imani, I will always come for you. He cupped her face, thumb brushing the small cut on her neck. Marry me. Not in a year. Not in 6 months. Marry me next week. Next week is too soon. Then next month. But I'm not waiting a year. I can't. I need you legally. Officially mine. Need everyone to know you're untouchable because you're a Russo. Imani's heart swelled. This is about protection? This is about love. His forehead pressed to hers. About not wasting a single second of the life we almost lost today. About making official what's already true. You're mine and I'm yours now and forever. 6 months, she negotiated. Give me 6 months to plan a wedding your mother will be proud of. Adrian laughed, the sound surprised and joyful. 6 months, but you move into my room tonight. Adrian, I'm not sleeping without you near me. Not after today. I need to know you're safe. His eyes burned into hers. Please, Passarotta, let me hold you tonight, that's all. Just hold you. How could she refuse? Okay, but we're telling your mother about the engagement properly. With dinner and champagne and the whole thing. Deal. He kissed her softly, carefully, like she was made of spun glass. Let's go home. Home. Imani turned the word over in her mind as they walked out of the warehouse, Adrian's arm firmly around her waist. 2 months ago, home was a cramped studio with water stains and broken heating. Now it was a mansion, a family, and a dangerous man who loved her enough to lay down his life. Lucia met them at the door, tears streaming down her face. Grazie a Dio, she breathed, pulling Imani into a hug. When they told me you were taken, I thought... She couldn't finish. I'm okay. We're okay. Lucia pulled back, looking between them. And? Adrian's smile was pure happiness. She said yes. 6 months. Lucia's squeal of joy brought the entire household running. Suddenly, Imani was surrounded by celebration, by family, by people who'd known her less than 2 months, but treated her like she'd always belonged. That night, true to his word, Adrian simply held her. They lay in his massive bed, her back to his chest, his arms around her like bands of steel. You scared 10 years off my life today, he murmured into her hair. Sorry. Don't be. You were brave, smart. You tried to warn me even when it put you at risk. He kissed her shoulder. My fearless sparrow. I wasn't fearless, I was terrified. Being brave doesn't mean not being scared. It means being scared and doing it anyway. His arms tightened. You're going to be an incredible Russo wife. Imani smiled in the darkness. And you're going to be an incredible husband, eventually, after you learn that I'm not some fragile thing to be protected. You're not fragile, but you are precious. And I'm always going to protect what's mine. Possessive. Absolutely. Get used to it. But his words held no threat, just promise. Protection, not control. Love, not ownership. For the first time since her mother died, Imani felt truly safe, truly home. Adrian? Thank you for seeing me that day at the airport. Thank you for letting me. He kissed her temple. Now sleep, Passarotta. Tomorrow we start planning a wedding my mother will talk about for decades. Imani drifted off in his arms, dreaming of a future that just months ago had seemed impossible. She'd come to this mansion broken, desperate and drowning. Now she was loved, cherished, and most importantly, free. 6 months later, Imani stood in a bride's suite wearing a dress that cost more than her old car, surrounded by bridesmaids who'd become sisters. Lucia fussed with her veil, tears already streaming. You're beautiful, Cara. My son is the luckiest man alive. I'm pretty lucky too, Imani said honestly. The wedding was extravagant. 300 guests, flowers that filled the estate garden. A reception that would be talked about for years. But none of it mattered compared to the moment Adrian saw her walking down the aisle. his face transformed. The dangerous mob boss disappeared, replaced by a man in love, barely holding back tears. When she reached him, he took her hands and whispered, "My sparrow. Finally mine." "Finally yours," she agreed. The ceremony was beautiful. The vows they'd written themselves were tear-inducing. When the priest said, "You may kiss your bride if you," Adrian didn't just kiss her. He dipped her dramatically, making everyone laugh and cheer. At the reception, as they danced under twinkling lights, Imani looked around at all the people who'd become family. Marco and Tommy laughing at the bar, Lucia crying happy tears at the head table, Adrian's entire organization treating her not like the boss's wife, but like someone they genuinely loved. "What are you thinking?" Adrian murmured, spinning her gently. "That I'm happy, truly, completely happy." "Good, because I plan to keep you that way for the next 60 years. "Only 60? Fine, 70. But that's my final offer." She laughed, and he pulled her closer, resting his forehead against hers. "Ti amo, passerotta mia," he whispered, "con tutto il mio cuore." Imani didn't need a translation. She felt it in every touch, every look, every moment since that day at the airport when he'd chosen to see her instead of looking through her. "I love you too," she whispered back, "with everything I am." 3 years later, as Imani sat in the mansion garden watching her daughter, Lucia Marie Russo, playing with her grandmother's flowers, she thought about how far she'd come. From a cleaning lady mocked in an airport to the wife of one of the most powerful men in America. From drowning in debt to drowning in blessings. Adrian came out of the house, suit jacket gone, sleeves rolled up, looking deliciously domestic. "How are my girls?" Their daughter squealed and ran to him. He scooped her up, covering her face with kisses before joining Imani on the bench. "Your mother wants to take Lucia to the zoo tomorrow," Imani said, leaning into his side. "Which means we get a day alone." Adrian's smile was wicked. "I can work with that. You're insatiable. Only for you." He kissed her temple, watching their daughter toddle back to the flowers. "Do you ever regret it, choosing this life?" "Never. Not for a single second." Imani took his hand, threading their fingers together. "You gave me everything, Adrian. A family, a home, a future, love. You gave me the same. I was just surviving before you. Now I'm living." He turned her face to his. "You saved me, Imani. In every way a person can be saved." She kissed him softly. "We saved each other." And as the sunset painted the sky gold, as their daughter's laughter filled the air, as they sat wrapped in each other's arms, Imani knew with absolute certainty that every moment of fear, every second of doubt, every risk she'd taken, it had all been worth it. She'd been seen, chosen, loved. And that made all the difference. This story has come to an end. If it touched your heart in any way, leave your like and share it with someone who also loves emotional stories. Comment below which moment was your favorite. The airport confrontation, the first kiss in the garden, or the dramatic warehouse rescue. New stories arrive soon. Until next time.